This is Chip Maxwell, and you're listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. Today, David and Chip reflect on patriotism, small business, and community building events at Retire Smart. They discuss Congressman Don Bacon's retirement announcement and its implications for Nebraska's political landscape, and then shift to market performance, breaking down the gap between strong technical indicators and concerning fundamentals. Well, David, Independence Day was Friday. This show is airing over the 4th of July weekend. I'm sure celebrations are continuing into Saturday and Sunday. I've always thought that small business owners like you are probably some of the most patriotic people in the country because you're the ones living and working the American dream. David, your thoughts this Independence Day weekend?
Well, it's my favorite holiday. We were a little quiet this year. Simply, my wife is recovering from a surgery we had to have this week, so I chilling at home. But it is my favorite holiday, and of course, I'm really excited for next year because it will be our 250th birthday. Yes. As a country. That's pretty amazing. But cheers to everyone out there. Hope you had a safe and wonderful holiday. And, hopefully you had some good hot dogs or burgers and eat some good meat.
Well, David, you're well aware of this. We have over 100 events, workshops, classes, and so forth year-round at Retire Smart. We do some fun things, too, though, and I just thought I'd share with our audience. One was paint, pot, and plan. Now, when I say pot, I'm talking about a pot for a plant. Folks came in and painted pots to put plants in, put soil in it, and put some plants, put some flowers in the pot, and that was fun. There was also a round of music bingo. Got a bunch of boomers in here, and we're playing hits from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and a round of music bingo for clients. So we do some fun things here along the way as well. All right, into the news we go, David. Now, I'm going to defer discussion of the big, beautiful bill to the second segment. Financial advisor Alex Murray has been digging into that bill, and he has found some things of special importance to people near or in retirement. So I'll let you and Alex flesh all that out. But in the meantime, David, we had some local news that's making national news. Congressman Don Bacon has announced that he will retire at the end of his current term. That'll make it a decade of service for him as Nebraska's House Representative from the 2nd District. Your thoughts, David?
Well, as we said, Don was I'd say middle of the road, at least politically speaking, centrist, more of a version of a Republican, which is probably required in a very purple district in reality. So we've had a couple announcements already of folks that are going to vie to take that spot. We'll see how that pans out, but we'll thank him for his service and thank him for his service in the military prior. And like I said, I think he did a fair job. Missed on a couple of things these last couple of terms. I think he, and again, why I'm such an advocate for term limits, the longer they're there, the further away I feel like sometimes these politicians get from their constituents. But again, thank you so much for your service, Mr. Bacon, and we're proud to have you represent us thus far. So,
well, it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. Don Bacon cautioned in his, I shouldn't call it his farewell address. He still got 18 months on the job, but he said, I hope whatever happens, whoever succeeds me, doesn't try to go too far to the right. Now, as someone who, in the interest of full disclosure, he and I became and remain friends from the primary from 2016. I haven't gotten as upset as some conservatives had on some of his votes and comments because he campaigned as a moderate. He governs as a moderate.
Well, that's you and I have discussed that many times.
He wins bipartisan awards for
he's
compromise.
The most, I guess, reaching across the aisle, whatever the award they've given him, ranked person in all of Congress. So,
so
he
is put himself out there to the voters 5 times, and every time they said yes. A majority has said yes. Now, as a conservative, I'm hopeful. What I'm hopeful, David, is this. I think the Democratic Party has lurched so far to the left that there may be an opportunity. I don't know if we can make this district scarlet red, but maybe crimson, maybe a deeper shade
Well,
of red.
as you know, the reality of politics is whoever gets in the primary will have to run further right than their opponent, and then they'll scurry back to the center for the general election. And exactly,
and to the left for Democrats, and then into the center for the general.
And so in the general election, this election, Douglas County has voted for the Democratic candidate the last couple of times, where Sarpy County has saved this district. It's a district that's kind of uniquely drawn here, but it does represent a pretty good swath of Omaha. It is my district. It is your district. We both live within the voting district. I do not live in the city limits of Omaha.
I am right outside in Bellevue, actually.
Oh, that's right. So you're
So I'm just a spectator.
Yep. But, so you're a spectator in it. So, but anyway, so we'll see. And I do believe City Councilman Brinker Harding is officially announced for sure, and there's a couple of things hearing of some other folks that will announce. So we'll cover that as we go. But as you said, that's a ways out. But here's the other thing. Now, Don, you're free to vote on any bill as you truly think, because you have no more elections in your future, or do you?
Okay.
So
he's saying I want to spend more time with Angie and my
move
children
over to the Senate, they would not want to have a loss on the record as the House representative, and I'm just thinking strategically if you were advising him, so you may want to step out and then take a 2-year hiatus, and then there would be a Senate race that might be up for grabs. So anyway, we'll see.
We'll put a marker out there and we'll watch. All right. Meanwhile, David, into the economic news we go. Headline from CNBC: Dow jumps 100 points. S&P 500 adds to record as investors bet on trade deals ahead. Even Trump and Trump supporters said, all right, there may be some market pain and some economic pain in the immediate future, but eventually things will get better. But David, the markets remain relentlessly strong.
They've been incredibly strong and surprised even me. And I talk about every week when we do the advisor training and the macro talking points for our client base is that the fundamentals are not that strong. The technicals are, and we look at both here when we're allocating dollars.
Give us a quick review. What are you talking about, fundamentals versus technicals?
Fundamentals is, how is the economy doing on a macro point of view, right? The GDP, et cetera. How are earnings for companies, the fundamentals of companies? Are they selling more products, goods, or services? Are their margins holding up so that they have profitability, which turns out to dividends and rewards the shareholder with a higher value of the stock, right? So those are the fundamentals. The technicals are, you can follow technical patterns in the market. You can follow moving averages. You can follow PE ratios, price to earnings ratios, and you can use all these things to give a thesis on where you think something should be fairly valued. Now, if you follow what's called the free markets economy, then the efficient frontier tells you that it's always the right price because the free market's what sets the price, which is why you want less regulation so that a free market can absolutely function. The more you regulate it, the more you manipulate the free, price discovery, if you will. Like I was recently in the Chicago board. I got to ring the closing bell in the Chicago board exchange, right? And about 80% of their transactions are electronic. But the reason people are like, why do you still have the pit? Why do they still have open outcry? It's the number one option trade in the world on SPX, which is the S&P 500 index options, insurance companies, banks, retail investors, the like. They all trade these options, millions of them. And the reason they have open outcry is that's how you get what's called real price discovery. You won't get that electronic bid to ask pairing up on a computer. And so sometimes you can move the price with what's called open outcry. Those are technical indicators. When we see the charts, the tick technically tells us about price discovery. We could do a whole show on this. But anyway, the bottom line is technically the market is looking very healthy here. Fundamentally, it's looking very weak. And from the fundamental standpoint, it's the most expensive it's ever been in history, Chip.
Well, do you still see pain in the future in the economy before the year's out?
I do see some things that are concerning to me, and I don't know if we'll get into it, but I brought a graph that shows you we've not had a down July in over a decade. The last 10 years, July has always been green. Fundamentally, there used to be an old adage, sell in May, go away. Well, that hasn't really worked here as recently because here we are, the markets have recovered strongly. And the other thing is you have a younger generation of investors that seem to be buying every dip regardless, where baby boomers are a little more cautious, typically speaking. because these younger generations have never experienced a real prolonged bear market. They've only experienced a COVID bear market. Oh, it goes down for 6 weeks and comes back. Oh, a tariff tantrum. It goes down and comes right back. Is that reality? Well, if you study history and markets, no, there'll be some pain at some point. Now, we don't know when that is, which is why you can't just put all the money under the mattress, as my wife Melissa's favorite saying, Melissa's mattress money, right? So what it tells you is you need to have somebody who's proactively watching the market to reallocate your capital when necessary to step you out of some of harm's way. And again, you don't need to shoot for the moon and hit every home run, but you want to pay attention because our debt is spiraling out of control. Here's the big, beautiful bill I'm going to talk about with Alex coming up. That's going to add potentially $5 trillion in debt to our fires. We have $37 trillion as we sit here today. We're on schedule to be at $45 trillion before the end of Trump's term.
Thank you for listening to the Retire Smart podcast with David Brooks. If you want to learn how to generate lifetime income, reduce your tax bill, and maintain your lifestyle in retirement, visit retiresmartpodcast.com. And make sure to subscribe to keep up with new episodes every week.